Has everyone read the agenda?
Yep.
Are there any changes?
Nope. Is Michael
Has everybody
Stapleton
read and the minutes?
Michael Stapleton, is he online?
Yes, he's online.
Okay.
Has everyone read the minutes? Are there any changes to the minutes? Anything, any opposition to the minutes? Without opposition, we
This
approve.
is Angela. No, this is Angela. I just have one small thing on the minutes.
Okay,
The date for the approval on the second deposit, I believe it says it was sometime in September, and it was really supposed to be October 2nd. That's the only change.
Second deposit? Okay. And October
Second
2nd?
deposit for the Hotel Colorado was listed as a September date, and it should have been October 2nd.
Okay. All right, I'll get that. Thanks, Angela.
any other changes? Any opposed to approving the minutes with the additional of the 2nd of October to the minutes? Without opposition, the minutes are approved. We have guests, let's see who's here. Mike Siebert, Wayne Harlows, Karen Ann Harlows, Russ Clough, Kyle Fury, Kat Martin, and Frank Atwood are our guests today. Public commentary will begin 3 minutes per person. Ms. Harlows.
Just to remind the board about that Scrivener's error we had found in it was either the bylaws or the Constitution that still needs to be corrected.
Hey, Mike.
Could we address that during the time allotted for that in the agenda?
Do we have that on the agenda?
There is the style committee and the.
This is
issues
separate from
committees.
that.
Oh, it's separate from that? Okay. So there's a scrivener's error?
Yeah, but there were some emails back and forth over it. Like, it was first found like 6 months ago, and then everyone just forgot, and I brought it up again a couple months ago.
So what do you need, what do we need to do? Will you
Fix it.
address?
You need to fix the error on the website. There's a whole clause missing, an important one.
Can you take care of that?
I have no idea what the change is.
Article 9, Section 9 of the Constitution.
Did you email that to David?
If somebody will send me the change, I will fix it.
That sound good?
You have it, Henry?
I
Yeah, we'll
mean,
get it to you
it's
one
in
way or
our-
another.
Yeah, just send
The information that you sent out,
it is.
Yeah.
right, so you have it.
So this was the email that you sent out with the scrivener's error, and it was a couple months ago, right?
Yeah, well, the first time was like 6 months ago, and then for some reason I had to look up that section again, and I just noticed it wasn't changed. And Mike also sent an email, so there's a flurry of them.
So we just need to find the email and add it to the website?
Yeah.
It is included in the style committee report. It is in there right now.
In the style committee report?
It is.
Yeah,
Okay,
the paragraph is in there, so.
Yes, it is.
yeah, I thought I saw it in the style committee report, that's why I asked if it needed to be addressed during that time. Is there any opposition to fixing the scrivener's error? With none opposed, we'll just fix it. We'll get that to you, David, if that works.
Okay.
Any other public commentary? Mr. Atwood?
As your liaison to the Center-Right Coalition meeting this morning hosted by John Caldera here, and with Victoria also attending, there's handouts, there's a Lincoln Club event of Republicans who served. There's, if anybody's into microgrids, they're going to have a Colorado Microgrid Summit. There's also going to be a wine and wind down a week after the municipal elections. And there's also a Centennial Institute statement with regards to opposition to both Proposition CC and DD. And there's going to be a caucus room, sort of a Facebook equivalent, but for conservatives only, requiring your date of birth, trying to minimize bots, and it's called Matt, I think it's Neidler, is running caucus room to sign up. There's information here, and there's also a Hollywood evaluation person from here in Colorado. That's handout literature, about 3 dozen individuals there, and that's the report from Center Right Coalition. And also with regards to approval voting, there's going to be a symposium on the 7th of December. If you'd like a flyer, I can hand you a flyer. Anybody need a flyer?
Is this one?
Yes, it's this one here.
For the Douglas County website.
Super. And I think that
This is
concludes
Angela
it.
Plummer,
Sure.
and I'm remote, but I'm wondering if I could get information on the microgrid thing.
Sure. My thinking is, anyone else want microgrid information?
If you could scan it and email it to board, it would be awesome.
Okay, may I hand it to you? Thank you, Mike.
Because
We
it's
know-
really, really interesting, actually.
Okay, and also, from an approval voting perspective, there's limits of ranked choice voting if you're interested in looking at
Awesome, 20
Likes.
seconds.
it. That's it for me, unless questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wasn't done like with my last
Oh, hang on.
one before, so. No, not from you, I mean, I had 2 things.
Oh, Ms. Harless.
Remember that you guys, the bylaws applications, the board needs to make its bylaws appointments, and I don't think an application's gone out.
Not until 2020.
That's not true.
No, it's this month. 6 months before convention, it has to be done.
There's no bylaws or constitution
Yes, there is.
committee on odd years.
There-
There can be, but there won't be.
No,
Madam
this
Chair,
year-
That's not correct. There was a mandate passed by the delegates of the convention to finish the work from
Yeah.
the previous committee, including combining the constitution bylaws and addressing the convention standing rules.
Yeah, that was a proviso, that wasn't an optional, it was a proviso.
So this is Angela. I was under the understanding that the previous bylaws committee put forward this recommendation, and the 2019 convention just didn't have time to vote on it, and that all we'd be doing is needing to make a vote on it, but that it doesn't need to be reevaluated by a new committee because the 2018 committee for the 2019 convention had already done that.
No. I was on the committee.
I wasn't at the 2019 convention, so I wasn't sure, but that was my understanding of it, that it was already put forward, that it just was an outstanding vote.
It is not.
No, the committee didn't even vote on it. Mike had said he started working on it. But no.
You
I mean,
can
we have
check
the
the
chair
minutes.
of the past bylaws committee here. I think you know what we did.
We do have the minutes too.
So this was something that didn't get resolved with the last bylaws committee, and it never got moved forward to the convention. And at the convention, they voted that bylaws and constitution would only be on odd number years. So I'm not really sure how this made it into 2020.
It was a proviso.
It was a proviso. The proviso said, with the exception of the convention following this one, I'm paraphrasing, that there will be a committee only for the purpose of putting forth a proposal to combine the Constitution and the bylaws and to adopt permanent convention standing rules. Those were the only 2 things that were allowed to be put forward and considered by the committee.
The actual wording says,
Here it is,
the
yeah.
Constitution and Bylaws Committee, as well as the Platform Committee, will, not the Campaigns and Commit, oh wait, that's the wrong one.
So I have number 8 constitution, we're working on that. Karen and Harlos moved to add a proviso that this would take effect sine die, is that how you say that? Convention 2019. Galbraithson called the question, this passed, the proviso passed, and the main
Page
motion
41.
passed. So,
Well,
The proviso reads, this proposal will not apply to the need to clear the backlog of unheard Constitution and
Oh, wrong
bylaws
one.
proposals from the 2019 convention and earlier, nor exclude proposals to codify the the convention's standing rules into bylaws, or a proposal to combine the constitutional bylaws, both of which are needed items that will not be achieved in due time constraints, which would be the only proposals allowed in the
Right.
2020 convention. It does not mean that we have to, it says that they are allowed.
Well, no, because the
That's what it says.
We're out of
Thank you
time.
very much, we're out of time.
As chair of the bylaws committee, I take extreme objection to that statement.
Your member is out of order, will have a seat.
No, ma'am, I have public comment.
Member is out of order, will have a seat. If you want to speak, ask appropriately.
I wish to be recognized as part of public comment.
Okay, you are now recognized as public comment.
As chair of the bylaws committee, I can tell you point blank, that interpretation is correct. The convention passed the proviso that the convention established a mandate to get this done. It is not on the board or the chair to say otherwise. They cannot override the will of delegates. That is why that proviso was in to get these two things done. Otherwise, it would be an odd year conventions, but in this case, there is that exception as dictated to this board and to this committee, which is a members' committee. We respond to the membership, not this board, to do this job. That's how it works.
Thank you, Mr. Seebeck. Yes, Ms. Harlows.
I'd remind the board that the bylaws committee is not a committee of the board. It's not a committee you guys have any control of. It's a committee of the convention. It's never a decision of the board whether to appoint a bylaws and platform committee or not on the years they're allowed. That is totally the prerogative of the convention and also of the affiliates. And Douglas has already named its bylaws committee members. So there will be a bylaws committee even if it's only the Douglas County member.
Duly noted. We will address this at the next board meeting if necessary.
Your deadline
Is passed,
doesn't.
and it wasn't addressed at the previous board meeting.
Yes, it was. I brought it up last board meeting.
And what was the result, Ms. Harlows?
That bylaws applications would be sent out.
Mr. Spalding?
I'm looking.
And again, it's the duty of the board.
Would you wait,
Let's see.
please?
In public comment, Karen Ann Harlow said, Scribner's error in the bylaws or constitution should have been fixed, and also the deadline for the bylaws committee application is soon. She feels the prior board has been thrown under the bus. Additional statements. Applications, no. Policy manual, campaigns, convention. No, there's no additional information on that from the last meeting.
We have the recording.
We have an L&C statement, but I don't think that's related.
No, when I said the deadline's coming soon, that's when I said it was the end of November or October, I can't remember what date, and that it was said that applications would go out.
Yeah, I think
Madam
I
Chair.
remember that.
Please.
I did not read that on the minutes, so,
It's not in the minutes. Somebody is asking for the floor.
hold on, who's speaking?
This is John, Membership Director.
John Pickerel.
Ma'am,
Yes, Mr. Pickerel, go ahead.
I believe it is important that we consider this. All that's being asked is that we appoint or send out an application for appointments to the bylaws committee. I don't think that that's asking too much.
Thank you, Mr. Pickerel.
Madam Chair, this is campaigns.
Yes, Mr. Lopez, go ahead.
If I remember the bylaws correctly, and I'm having a little bit of trouble following what is at issue here, but if I recall correctly, the county affiliates are to appoint their own people to that. We have to, if they fail to appoint somebody, we have to appoint somebody. So I believe at this point, we're waiting for the affiliates to tell us who is on that committee.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Would you note that, please, Mr. Foley? Let's continue with public commentary. Ms. Minton,
Yes,
you had something to comment?
I do. I apologize for being late, so I don't know if, this is fresh information?
It's fresh
It is.
information.
Okay,
Legislative has not spoken yet.
okay, so, I do have some handouts with the language of a proposed state initiative called Petition Rights, and that is to amend the state constitution, to take back our rights as citizens to petition our government, because year after year after year after year, those rights are attacked. So, I can hand up the document. Is that the best way to, it's easier if I hand it out here. As a starter with this, the numbers, based upon 5% of the last vote for Secretary of State, indicate that within about 2 years, it will be impossible for us to be able to get a petition onto the statewide ballot. National popular vote was a rare thing where the grassroots volunteer efforts were beyond anything we'd ever seen in Colorado, frankly. Maybe even that above taxpayers' Bill of Rights. And for the average petition that may not inflame or irk the voters as much as National Popular Vote did, it is basically impossible now to be able to get something on the ballot. And always keep in mind, just getting it on the ballot doesn't mean it passes. That's just getting it up there for voters to make a decision. Both parties have attacked the right to petition, Republicans and Democrats. Each has their special little thing that they don't want touched, and they're willing to slit the throat of we the voters to be able to stop an attack on oil and gas, or the complete opposite. And so both parties have no respect for the right to petition as a whole. This petition does such things as, instead of having a 6-month window, which is extremely hard to get 227,000 signatures, and that doesn't even include the cushion, which means you must be somewhere close to, 127, did I say 227? I meant 127. Am I done already?
You want another minute or two, Natalie?
Yeah,
I move to give Natalie Menton another, you just need 1 minute or two?
probably 2.
Alright, I give a motion to give Natalie another 2 minutes to continue speaking.
Any opposed? Without opposition? Go ahead.
All right, so as an example, right now you have a 6-month window to get your petition all done, start to finish. That means the day the Secretary of State says, here it is, go print it, all the way to the date you gotta turn it in at 6 months. This turns it into 1 year, so that you have a much better opportunity to do what you need to do. One of the most important things is that this will be, right now it would start at 111,000 entries or signatures, and only be allowed to increase 9,000 more every 4 years. And it would also provide a benefit to promoting statutory amendments, because those would always be 50% of whatever the constitutional amendment is. Right now they are the same. And so what I personally would like to see is the Libertarian Party take this on. It is something that reaches across the whole spectrum, whether you want to have more control over local oil and gas laws, or Second Amendment, or a wide variety that can be just all over. The main purpose is that we should never give away our right to petition the government. because it is one of the last tools that we have.
Thank you.
I will add, there are many more benefits, but with the time allowed, I think that's it.
Thank you. Mr. Harless?
Concerning the applications that need to go out for the Constitution and Bylaw Committee, this is something that we can't deviate from. We have to put the applications out. The campaigns director is mistaken when he said that all the counties have to do theirs and that's the end of it. That's not so. The counties have the opportunity to bring their person, to appoint their person to represent them at the Constitution and Bylaws Committee, but this needs to be brought to the members, and the members all have to have the opportunity to step in and serve on that committee. So Mr. Lopez was mistaken in his reading of how this works. So this is something that has to happen, and we can't just keep pushing it out because we have a Constitution and Bylaw Committee that has to be formed. And I hope all of the county affiliates that are here tonight and those that are not here have sent an email to the board indicating who they chose to represent their local affiliate.
All right.
Thank you. Any other public commentary? No further public commentary. We move to affiliates and development groups. If we could start in alphabetical order, I would go with Boulder first. Arapahoe, sorry. Arapahoe County.
Oh, is that me?
Yeah, that's you.
I'm not standing at this time.
That's fine.
We had the Arapahoe County meeting last Tuesday. It's one of the rare months where the board meeting happens after Arapahoe. We're back at Rancho Alegre on the corner of Alameda and Chambers in Aurora. Was it $1? I think it's $1 taco Tuesdays.
Yeah. And a lovely view of the theft center, aka City Hall.
Yes.
Is it City Hall? I didn't see it.
So we haven't put anything in stone for next month, but we're there. It's always a good time, and street tacos. Yay, street
Didn't
tacos.
you have a road cleanup or something else too?
Oh yeah, we just we had our road cleanup last Saturday. It went really well. Weather permitting, we're gonna have another one in January for next quarter. Again, weather permitting. It is Colorado. It could be 70 degrees. Who knows? So, yeah.
Is there a representative from Boulder? Delta? Denver?
The Denver County Development Group has its next meeting tomorrow night at 6:30 at the Dive-In. And as far as our progress on affiliating, we actually have kind of a plan in place more or less. Tomorrow at the meeting we'll have to make some final decisions on some things before we can move forward with sending the bylaws in for review and registering with Tracer, creating the EIN number, setting up a bank account.
Awesome.
And then we plan to have all that done hopefully by our November meeting, and then hope to have the annual meeting by December. And
Yay, Denver.
Douglas?
Douglas County had their annual convention last week and a half ago, and we have a pretty full slate of office holders right now. Unfortunately, the fellow that we elected as vice chair was not able to be there because of family concerns, but I knew he wanted to throw his hat in the ring, so I nominated him, and he was unanimously elected, but he can't take this spot because of some problems. Both of his parents are very, very ill right now, and he's not going to be able to take the spot. So we still are looking for somebody to fill the vice chair spot, but all of our other offices are filled now. Douglas County appointed Karen Ann Harlos for the Constitution and Bylaws Committee for the state party, and we hope to have a fantastic year.
And your next meeting is?
November 7th Fox and Hound, and it's gonna be a big one. We have 2 lady speakers. Leslie Hollywood is gonna be speaking on behalf of Rally of Our Rights on gun rights. And then we have Nancy Von Minden from the Able Shepherd Group is gonna be speaking on handgun usage that she teaches primarily to ladies, but the Able Shepherd also teaches school staff that wanna have their staff on. So she's gonna have a wonderful piece for us, and it's gonna be a very, very popular meeting. I'm sure we'll have 50 to 75 people there.
Nice. El Paso? Is there anybody from El Paso?
Yes. We had our board meeting yesterday, and Mike Seebeck was elected our Constitution and Bylaws Committee representative. We're gonna have, I think our next member meeting is Thursday after this coming, I believe. It's third Thursday. We're gonna have a couple of speakers on national popular vote, and I kinda think that they're going to be talking about the good points of it. So they may go out tarred and feathered, I don't know, it'll be interesting. That's all I've got.
Oh, El Paso, Albert, who's next?
Mesa, then Pueblo.
Jefferson.
Oh, yes, we have them.
Hi, our next meeting is on Thursday, and we have guest speaker Lisa Cutter, who's the representative of State House District 25, will be attending. And it's a really good opportunity to basically give her some libertarian ideas for bills, and it's a really good opportunity to get those ideas out there. So if you can make it, it's the location is Holiday Lanes off of Colfax in Lakewood.
Do they still have the $5 pitchers?
They do, yeah. The food's really inexpensive, and the beer is really inexpensive. Yeah, the pitchers are the way to go.
It's actually really tasty food for the price too.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Where is
It's West Colfax, and it's called Holiday Lanes. We've got our own room. It's relatively quiet, and so yeah, it should be really good. For November, we have Blake Nelson as a guest speaker, who will be talking about approval voting. And we're looking at organizing a outreach event for 2 items. One is No on CC, and the other one is Jefferson County has this really bad detabering initiative, not almost as bad as CC, that we're
30
going
seconds.
against as well. So we plan on doing some signs and outreach. So.
Thank you. Mesa? Was anybody from Mesa on the line? No? Pueblo?
Yeah, this is John Pickerel. Can everyone hear me okay?
Barely.
Who is it? John?
John Pickerel.
Yeah, John Pickerel. Okay, I'll try to speak loudly and slowly.
Perfect.
Pueblo County held the Chili and Frijoles Festival on the 20th, 22nd of September. It was very well attended. 150,000 visitors attended. We had very good showing at the outreach booth. We had probably about 30 signups, most of them from Pueblo County, El Paso County, and Denver County. We are hoping to use that to grow our county party. Many expressed interest in coming to our monthly meetings. Our next meeting is tomorrow, October 15th. That will be November 19th. Both of which will host local elected officials. I do want to bring up that I was recently elected to the San Isabel Electric Association Board of Directors. I bring that up because that may take away. Thank you. But that obviously I have to. It's important to dedicate some energy to that, and so I have reached out to Mark Montoni, who has offered to help me with responding to notifications we get from folks who are interested in the party, who want to run for office, who are interested in volunteering. So I think he will help me fill the gap on that. That's all I have.
Thank you. LNC, is there anything from the National Committee?
Nothing new at this point.
Thank you. Officer reports. Do I have anything to add? Well, nope, nothing to add. Vice Chair?
Nothing to add.
Treasurer?
Nothing to add.
Fundraising?
Nothing to add.
Campaigns?
Can I ask fundraising a question?
Yes.
Although it's a convention, have we sold tickets, and if so, how many?
Could we do that during the convention?
Yeah, so that's going to be outlined in the convention report, but I'll just let you know, so for 10, at the All Access Capone, sorry, air quoted Capone, the Capone level, and 1 sponsorship so far.
Okay, thanks.
We have.
Thank you. Campaigns?
I have nothing really substantial. It looks like 2020 is going to be fairly full of candidates, so we're well on our way to that full slate.
Awesome. Outreach? I guess Brandon did not make it. Affiliates?
I had a question. What is the deadline for the affiliates to nominate representatives?
There's a deadline without a penalty, as we learned, last year. It's supposed to be 6 months before the first day of the convention. But the state board has the obligation to write the affiliates and remind them of their deadline. The only reason Douglas knew is because, I do daily devotions with the bylaws. But not everybody is like that. So most of them probably don't even know that they need to do that. I mean, El Paso does, because Mike is my partner in prayer.
Right. So just tell them now, as soon as
Yeah.
possible? Okay.
I think they have it. I think it's like a month before the deadline.
Okay. And nothing else to really add unless you have anything about Albert.
I can get with you offline about that if you want me to.
Say on to. What's it?
Okay. For the next meeting.
Perfect.
Legislative. Oh, wait, so hang on a second. David, you had a question?
Actually, I've got some information here. Hang on just a second. The deadlines, October 3rd was the deadline for announcing committee applications, and they're due by, I guess, final applications are due by December 5th.
So December 5th?
I believe that's correct, yes.
Thank you. Legislative? Michael Stapleton?
Is it on the call?
I know he's on the call. I don't think he can hear us.
They can definitely hear us.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, there he is.
There he is. Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, I just wanted to continue to reiterate on pushing our to both CC and DD. If the Taxpayer Chamber of Commerce, there was some really, really good information put out today. If in regards to CC and how it will have an effect on go to the local communities and the tax exemption for, and then we had a wonderful presentation from Natalie Mitten on the ballot initiative proposal that I attached to my report, and open contact for the ballot initiative. I'm not sure if we're ready to get vote on going forward with this tonight, or if we want to vote on it at the next meeting. But I am ready to have some discussion on where we think the state party needs to go as proposal and initiative to restore our petition rights.
Are you making a motion that we vote on that tonight, Mike?
It's our Wi-Fi.
It's the Wi-Fi that's not working.
Sure, John's not pushing a button over there.
I think he's saying something about at least talking about the initiative, is what I understood, that we should have a discussion at least,
Okay.
is what I understood he was saying, but I don't know because.
Maybe we just put that on the agenda and he'll be back by then.
I mean, the issue started at 7:25 is what it looks like.
Madam Chair, in his email earlier, you mentioned that for discussion.
Is anybody watching Netflix in here right now? I mean that.
Ballot initiative. I can see that we would have to likely have some people step up to form a volunteer committee to make sure that we have people focused on what needs to be done. Ballot initiative. State.
Can't hear you, Mike.
So let's. Should we discuss this ballot initiative in an email and bring it up for a vote at the next board meeting?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to flush my network settings here for a second.
We're having technical issues. This monumental task.
Are we open for discussion?
That is from Michael Stapleton, text.
Okay.
Make a motion to discuss for discussion purposes, or open it for discussion to make a determination if we want to accept this monumental task. It would be in the monumental task, but backing this motion, I don't know that it would be a problem to at least support the motion, but I don't know, that's just my point of view.
What's the motion?
A motion to discuss the topic
What topic?
of the ballot initiative,
What ballot initiative? That was my
You
question.
were.
this one,
It's petition.
the petition rights.
So maybe we should discuss it briefly and
Thanks.
then decide if we're gonna. vote for it.
Discuss it briefly and vote on it next month, or study it and think about it.
Make a motion about it and see if it.
Oh, okay, so this was,
So I move we discuss the practicality of supporting or desirability of supporting the petition rights ballot initiative. Second.
There is a motion to discuss the practicality of, would you repeat that, please?
Practicality and desirability
The
of,
practicality and desirability of this motion on petition rights.
Second.
And then we have a second, so any discussion, let's go in order, Mr. Vice Chair.
It looks like a good measure, as long as we can get enough people to help us out with it, I say we support it. I don't wanna say we should be the primary, simply because I couldn't ask people to take on a task that I wouldn't be willing to be a primary on.
Okay. Mr. Treasurer?
Yeah, I'm just curious what exactly we can do to support this.
Well, if we
question.
could at least, say that we agree with it, we
Oh,
could then
absolutely.
see if we can find,
Absolutely.
we would agree with this. With this motion and at least give our moral support to it for the beginning. You had something to say?
Oh, I agree that, yeah, I mean, just at least we can say we support it, and then we'll figure out what kind of resources we can muster up.
Mr. Spalding.
Close enough. So I've been through this process a few times, and the first thing we need is a point person to actually go down to the Secretary of State's office. Argue you have somebody doing that?
Natalie's doing it.
Me and Chip.
Oh, yeah?
So,
Okay,
I should have, I realized when I sat down that I hadn't explained that.
right.
That
So that part
sorry,
is
I'm gonna
done,
stand up because, so this has been gone through the review and comment.
past single subject?
No, we have not gone to title board yet.
Okay.
Right now, we're arguing about which month. Right now, we're set for December, but we should have the right to go in November. So I'm arguing with SOS about the title board.
Okay.
But the two petition represented, this is final language, been filed, Chip Krieger, and myself are the petition reps.
Okay. Are they meeting in November? Don't they usually not meet in November?
They're breaking the law.
Oh.
They should be.
I'm just saying what they usually do.
Yeah, they simply put, they say you should be able to run a petition while there's an election running. Well, right now, due date too soon, whatever that is,
Yeah.
they're getting signatures, so we're arguing that we should be in November.
Alright. So we don't have to worry about that, that's a lot of work, so, but that's the easy part in my mind.
Right.
Because once it gets approved by the title board, and these guys might have to take it, it might take several months, they might have to argue it up to Supreme Court for a single subject or whatever, but once they get that approved, then the deadline starts, and that's one of the things is trying to end, is you get 6 months to get 100,000+ signatures. And you can buy those for anywhere from $1.50 to $3 or $4, depending on the election season, per signature.
Mm-hmm.
So we can contribute tens of thousands of dollars, or maybe not. We can contribute people to go out as manpower to do volunteer signature gathering, which is very difficult and rarely successful. So, our moral support does little,
Mm-hmm.
but to do anything else, I think is a lot of work. So we'd have to
Right.
decide this is something we want to. Now, the other thing is it will get press and publicity, and if you say, this is, the Libertarian Party is doing this, then maybe that looks like, you're doing something to increase the freedom of the citizens, or at least their flexibility, so.
From Michael Stapleton, it says, I believe we would need a committee to support this effort, or a committee to steer the effort. He's texting me because he can't speak.
I think it's back now.
Is it back?
It looks pretty stable to me.
Okay.
So.
Hang on, let's go with David and then Michael.
I have a couple of fairly serious questions about the language. On the 5th line of section 1, it says with state initiatives as single subjects. To me, that implies, as I mentioned in my email to the board, that somebody could put up a thing that run a petition that kills the Bill of Rights and kills Tabor and kills Gallagher all in one thing. And to me, that sounds like a really dangerous loophole to open. I'll just mention one other thing. I haven't gone through this with fine-tooth comb. Section 2, it says only 12 bills and one budget may be state petition exempt yearly. I think what you're talking about is the safety clause. Maybe you should just mention that.
Would you care to answer, Natalie?
Yes. In the recent, so this does, the single subject has actually, first of all, anybody who doesn't know, Taxpayers' Bill of Rights goes into the Constitution. They say, wham, you got all these benefits for taxpayers wrapped into one thing. We're gonna narrow it, make single subject rule. That's been used against us for the most part. Many times, more than to our benefit. So this does make more of a broad subject. You'll see on page 2, under section 3, that it is really very broad topics, but still some it doesn't have to do with bears and the Olympics and whether you can abort a kid. I mean, it's got to be somewhat same subject. And as for, hopefully that, and lastly, Carol Hedges going to decable us completely for next year with Initiative 3. The Supreme Court ruled, contrary to the whole single subject theory, that it was a single subject. So already the Supreme Court has blown out of the water what is single subject. So now it's wide open. As for the emergency clause, yes, we are 100% going after the legislators who abuse the safety clause and prevent us from petitioning. And it is legalese, so I know sometimes better wording comes about, but I hear your words.
Okay.
So it looks like I'm kind of doing the same thing. I'm speaking on behalf of John Pickerel. He recommends a simple resolution of support by the board on supporting legislative director's suggestion. Now, as for my question, is this something that is this language set in stone, or is this kind of,
Yes.
it is set in stone? Okay.
Now there is a chance that we go before the title board and they'll argue that it's not single subject, throw it out, the court agrees with them, and then you really have to go back through the process. So I won't say that there couldn't be maybe a tweak or two, but this is really very well set.
Right. Like you said, this is a lot of legalese. If you were, and I apologize if I missed your the point in the original presentation, but if you were to boil this down to one objective, what is the objective?
Give power back to the citizens.
By what means? I mean, by the petition being
Petition rights amendment is really the.
Right, but maybe I'm not phrasing this correct. How does this change the current procedure?
Okay, so right now, if you were to run a statewide initiative, you would have 6 months. This expands it to 1 year.
Okay.
And it also reduces the amount of signatures.
Okay.
And caps them in a different method than what's currently used, which is the vote for Secretary of State.
Okay.
Within the next election cycle, we will have reached the numbers where we will not be able to get anything on the ballot. And they have taken our rights. Amendment 71, which also made that we have to get 2% from each Senate district and supermajority, that's gone with this.
Okay.
We take it out.
Okay.
My time is up on this. Does anybody need to discuss some more? Or?
Does somebody want to make a motion to make the
extend
resolution
time?
Michael was talking about?
Yeah, John Pickerel wanted a resolution of support based on.
Is there a motion to extend time
Move to extend
for?
5 minutes.
5 minutes. 5 minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any opposed? Extended for 5 minutes. Go ahead. You're saying John Pickerel?
Oh, I don't know if I'll let John make the motion if he would like to, but it was a resolution of support based on Mr. Stapleton's recommendation.
So that would be a different motion. Is there any further discussion on the current motion? Or is there a motion?
What is
It was kind of a discussion motion. So
It was a discussion motion. So now we want a motion.
pass the
John?
resolution of support.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, my motion is to adopt a resolution stating that we support the legislative director's position to support this initiative.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any opposed? Without opposition, this motion passes. We'll make a resolution to support this motion.
I'm stepping away.
Okay.
Are we sending-
Membership, your turn.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. As you can see in my report, I just wanted to reiterate that we are getting more interest in the Libertarian Party of Colorado. The inquiries into just information as people wanting to run for office, as well as people wanting to volunteer for the party, as well as are going up. So that's good news. Secondly, I need to ask a clarification. Has the funding for the fall newsletter been approved by the board? I saw the vote going around by email, but I never
It was
remember
approved
seeing a.
unanimously.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much. And on that note, I would like to say on behalf of myself, Michelle and Karen Ann, that we are going to seek advertising to either partially or fully fund printed news in the future, so that we understand this is quite a financial burden letters and on the Treasury. But we do think it's very, very important, and we're going to continue to try to put out a print newsletter in the future. That's all I have.
Okay, next is communications.
Nothing to add in the report.
Secretary.
I have just a couple things to add. It's great that Ross and Natalie are here because we ran an experiment where we were visiting independent business owners along major thoroughfares to get their support for putting up signs opposing 1A, and that worked very well. Ross and I did it this weekend. And so that is an option for volunteers. We can get them together and get out and get these signs out. We have signs against CC as well that Natalie has been producing. So go ahead.
Do you have signs here?
I have some against 1A, but that's a Jeffco specific.
Would I be able to get one of those?
Yeah, yeah. Do you?
1A?
Mm-hmm.
Did you help me on the count?
Your 1A signs are worded exactly the same way as our opposition to our 1A.
It's multitasking.
I have more than no CC in my car.
Reuse, reduce, reuse.
Yeah.
Yeah, recycling.
Recycle, yeah, sadly, over and over again. But then the other thing I had to add, let's see. So we had, there was actually an event here just for fundraising. I'll send it to Angela separately, but they made a bunch of money here recently. Also, we had an issue where somebody donated $240, and they checked it as the Jackson Club, which is on our little donation sheet. But nobody knows what the Jackson Club is, and we had emails that went to Angela and to Michelle Pogue even, and some other people trying to figure out what the heck. And I looked at the records, and it says they get a t-shirt, bumper sticker, some swag, 20% off on convention and stuff, but we don't have the infrastructure to support that. It'd be great to get more of those kind of donations and then actually be able to handle that. So who should have the responsibility for generating that kind of swag and keeping track of the membership levels?
Fundraising, probably.
That's what I would think.
I would think fundraising.
But Angela had never even heard of the Jackson Club.
I've never heard of it, and so I know there's on the newsletter that goes out quarterly that there's certain levels of support. I wasn't around when the inception of the quarterly newsletter started, so how that came about, I'm going to have to do some research in. But yeah, you know, that's the expectation that they need to have that delivered to them, and we definitely need to have something up on our convention page that if they have this if they have that support level, that they get the discount. So yeah, but let me work with the newsletter, to figure out how this came into play and how it was initially intended to
So these, support levels have been around for like.
be tracked.
These support levels have been around for over 10 years. But I think Michelle's the one who added it to the newsletter, and she has more knowledge about it.
She's out of town for the next 3 weeks. We could probably get with her and figure it out. Send me an email, and I'll look into it.
Okay.
And copy me on it too, please.
All right.
Yeah.
In the meantime, though,
Affiliates.
can we make sure that this person gets this donor gets their stuff?
That's why I said to
whatever
send me
we-
an email so
Okay,
we can
yeah.
get that done.
Well, we should check with Michelle because she might have taken care of it. I don't know.
Yeah, I can talk to her.
Okay.
I'm house sitting.
Oh.
Yeah, there's something that I need to add, and I forgot to do it on my reporting time. So if there's no opposition, may I add something?
No opposition.
November 2nd, we are having a fundraising / phone banking / drinking and shenanigans event in Aurora at the Gulbranson Pogue residence. Phone banking starts at 4 o'clock, goes until about 6:30. Drinking and shenanigans continues. It is a masquerade party. We are suggesting a donation of $19.99 to help cover the expenses of this party, and or time in lieu for for the donation instead of donation in kind of time spent making phone calls. The purpose is to fundraise and sell convention tickets at the early bird pricing. That is going on until a certain date. I'm not sure the cutoff, but it's within that time. Call voters to vote because it's November 2nd. It's right before the election, so call on voters as well and request donations for the party and get them involved. So November 2nd, starting at 4 o'clock, going until whenever. Please come, help us. We need volunteers. If you can make it, please do. Thank you.
If you need a reminder, we have an event page for it on Facebook.
And the graphics are really cool. Eric did those. That was it. Anything else with your report? Done. Standing committee reports. Technology.
I have nothing to add. I think we need to talk about the drive permissions after this, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Database website.
Yes, on Thursday or Friday, I think it was, I realized that we should be helping our members decide how to vote on local issues. So I sent each of the 25 or so county contacts that we have an email asking for what their position was on local issues. And I was gonna put this up on the website, and in fact I have done that, but I only got responses from 2 of the 25. I put up Denver's. I got responses from Jay Stewksbury in Delta County, and I got a response from John Pickerel in Pueblo County. I did not hear from Douglas or Jefferson or El Paso or Mesa or Arapahoe or any of the others.
Mr. Harless, you have a question?
You resend it to me because I never got it.
Okay.
How about you, Ross? Did you get it?
I am not sure. I'll
I thought.
Madam Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Lopez.
I ran into a similar issue, because I forget what I was looking for help, filling out the offices, but it's seems to be difficult to get a hold of our affiliate chairs. So is there a way that we can maybe congregate them outside of an email blast? Because that doesn't seem to.
Well, I know that Arapahoe, you can reach us on
Remember, it's out of order. Miss-
Arapahoe, you can reach out to us on our Facebook Messenger. You can message us through our Facebook page. We should be more responsive there than our emails. I mean, I know that we're responsive with our own board, but
Yeah.
I didn't receive anything from Dave. I don't know who in Arapahoe
Time
he
is
has
up.
our contact.
Well, I think I went to chair@lparapahoe.org.
I'll have to take a look at that. I might have missed that.
Time is up.
Yep. Was there more you needed to say, David?
No, that's all I had.
And our committees, welcome committee. Do we have Mark Montoni on the line?
No.
No. Campaigns committee, previous work and new transition, is there anything to add?
No, we have, I could use a couple more members. I'm going to put something out, but, we haven't had a meeting in a couple months, so, going into 2020 is going to be different, I think.
Thanks.
There's a lot more interest in 2020, so.
Will you let me know when would you make it public when the next, committee meeting will be happening, and if you're requesting for more volunteers so that we can, have people
Yeah,
attend?
I'll make
Thanks.
sure it's all public, yeah.
Policy Manual Committee, Mr. Seebeck. Policy Manual, oh, sorry,
It used to be John,
John. That's no longer there.
but
Why
the
is this
committee
on
is
here?
gone now.
Issues Committee Startup, and Legislative Committee Reformation, Mr. Stapleton.
Just waiting for a few more volunteers for the Issues Committee. The Legislative Action Committee, we will have our first meeting about the second week of November to prepare for the upcoming legislative session.
Thank you. Style Committee, Mr. Seebeck.
Okay. The board received the final report of the Style Committee in their email last night.
Right.
On the request to look it over. The committee itself has finished its work for this term, courtesy of the putting in all the changes after the last convention. I hope the board's a chance to look it over. The report is kind of long. I didn't print out copies because it's 50-some odd pages. That would have been a little ridiculous. It's got 7 parts to it, just for everybody else.
That's the one that you sent as an email, right?
Right, 52 pages.
Yes. The second document I sent along was a proposed resolution for the board to provide a bridge fix to a problem. The problem is that our bylaws are currently not in conformance with state law. The problem specifically is that the bylaws dictate the secretary files amendments to the bylaws in constitution with the Secretary of State, but the state law requires the chair to do it. The resolution would give the party legal cover to at least till we get to the 2021 convention where we can fix this in a normal manner without having to go through the time and expense of calling a special convention to fix one sentence.
When I filed the bylaws with the Secretary of State, they were okay with it being via email, or even if the Secretary filed them, they didn't really care.
Okay.
So that's
They're
just
supposed to.
an FYI.
They're supposed to,
They,
but.
they barely care that you file. Sure.
So,
Well, let's put it this way, I wouldn't trust them as far as I could throw them.
right, so I filed them in person, got a receipt and all that, and
And
they
that's
said that it could be
and that's fully
done.
in accordance with state law. So.
Right, and so we need to change it so that I have to file it?
The bylaws would need to be changed to do that, however, because it's out of conformance with state law, and because of the nature of how the bylaws are constructed, not having bylaws change until the 2021 convention, to do it now would require a special convention, would fall into the details, but let's be honest, there's no reason to go through all that crazy. A resolution would allow.
Motion to extend it for sure.
Time?
Can I finish the sentence?
Motion to extend.
Second? Is there a second? Any opposed? For how long?
How much more do you think? 2-3 minutes?
3 minutes, we plan.
3 minutes?
3 minutes?
Freeze plan.
All right.
Any
3 minutes.
opposed? Go ahead.
Okay, if the, we would, to do this in the normal fashion, meaning just a standard change to bylaws, we couldn't do it till 2021. We can do that, but we still want to make sure we're covered for the 2020 convention for changes we do there. This resolution I drafted up would give the board cover to handle that by simply, the board would direct the chair to direct the secretary to take care of it.
Okay.
Which would solve the problem.
So
It's a
is there a
CYA.
motion?
It's a CYA.
Does somebody need to make a motion on this?
The board would have to make a motion on this resolution.
Does some,
So moved.
is there a second?
Second.
Any opposed?
Opposed to a motion? Oh, opposed to the motion, yeah, I'm opposed. I think this is silly and we should spend time on other things, and if we ignore this till 2021, nobody will notice. I mean, Mike will, but, nobody at the state will notice.
I
So
would
think it's a
argue this
waste
is
of
not a
time.
drop dead, have to do it right now thing, but it needs to be addressed prior to the next convention.
Mr.
So I just sent this out to everybody on the call. I assume they're reading it, but I do think that this is something that's worthwhile, particularly going into 2020. I think there's going to be more interest in third parties, so we don't want to expose ourselves to anything that we know could be an issue. So I think we should quickly draft a resolution stating that we are something as whereas.
Well, it's
Mike
already
has a resolution already.
drafted.
Yeah.
Is it drafted?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, then there you go. Yeah, yeah.
So the motion
No,
would be
yeah.
to accept
to
this
pass it, yeah.
resolution if, that is already drafted.
So I think
Is there
we should
any
pass it.
further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye. And it sounded like there was one on the phone too.
Who was the person that opposed on the call?
This is membership director. My vote was an aye.
Oh, it was an aye. Okay, so with one nay and 8 ayes, it passes. So moved. The other thing we needed to do was approve the style committee changes.
Yeah.
Is there a motion to approve the style committee changes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any opposed?
Oh, I'm opposed. We didn't do discussion?
Oh, is there any discussion?
So there were a couple changes. Most of the changes were great and much needed improvements. I mean, especially the redundancy stuff. It was excellent. So I'm glad to see that. But there were a couple changes that may have changed some of the meaning. And I'm concerned about that. And then,
Could
yeah,
you
so
point out which
I have a
ones
list of
were-
various changes that I had objections to. I don't know if now's the time to go over that. All right, in the bylaws, Article 6, Section 4.
What was that?
You got that memorized, Mike, what's the problem? But anyway,
I'm good, I ain't that good.
at any rate,
Give me that place again, please.
so, bylaws,
Okay.
and then Article 6, Section 4.
Okay, hang on. Let me get to the right page here. Article 6, Section 4, you said.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, got it.
So, they changed it to say it's approved by the delegates to the convention rather than approved by the convention. So the convention, the objection can be by the delegates of the convention as opposed to by the convention as a body. And so
Convention is
now
considered-
individuals can do it with the delegates
The
thing.
convention for the bylaws is considered to be the event.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And so it's also the body. So the entire
We've
convention has to
defined the
approve it.
bylaws now, after the last convention.
Say what?
After the last convention, we defined convention to be the event.
Oh, so it's not the body.
Correct.
So why did you add delegates to the convention instead of just saying the convention?
Because there are other delegates that are listed within the bylaws. There are national convention delegates as well. So this was there for clarification of which ones we're talking.
Okay, that doesn't change me. It makes
I'm
sense.
sorry. Where are you? In the bylaws?
Yeah,
Article 6,
it-
Section 4.
It's horrible stuff, so,
Bylaws,
Okay.
Articles.
It's wonderful. Stop
Article
it.
6.
You blaspheme.
Yeah.
But this is, unless I'm way off, this says state committees.
You're in the
Article 6.
Constitution.
Yeah, you're in the Constitution.
Okay.
Bylaws, not constitution.
This is
Alright.
why we need to combine the documents, folks.
Yeah.
Directors, Board of Directors, there's no section 4 that I see.
Are you in Article 6?
It says Article 6, Board of Directors. Article 7 is annual conventions.
Article 6 is state committees.
You might have an older version of it.
Are you looking at the email?
I am looking at the email, 2019 Stock Committee Final Report .docs.
Go to page 23.
God, you guys are good.
Oh, I have it in hand, that's what.
No.
Oh, okay.
That's
All right. Thank you, sir.
And while he's working on that, Mike, in Article 7 of the Constitution, we changed a number to 73 instead of 65. That sounds like a style change.
Good question. 73 is a state law. It was changed several years ago, and it was never updated.
Right, so that's not a style change.
It
That's
is.
something the bylaws would have to,
And
or
the
Constitution.
committee considered that to be a typo,
Oh.
because we've never had a convention that runs up against a 73-day period. It doesn't change the context of when we have to do things. It just changed the number, so it was a typo.
A typo that was there for 10 years.
Well, we did it
Yes.
10 years.
Oh, that's pretty good. Were you on that committee?
Yes.
Okay, thanks, John.
Yeah. Mr. Hirschman and Mr. Mulder were on the committee as well.
Those are my two most important ones as far as changing meaning. It looks like they're okay, so I withdraw my objection. The rest was really good.
Any further discussion?
I appreciate you, grilling and going through it.
You should see the list I have. Karen would love it. All right, are we done?
When called to order. Is there any further discussion? Mr. Atkin?
I would like to ask the committee chairs, when you have these committee meetings, to let me know when they are so I can post them on the website. I think we're supposed to notify our members of all of these meetings, and that's the way
Yes.
we do it.
Good point.
Any further discussion?
Looking at,
Would you wait to be recognized, please?
I apologize.
Thank you. Mr. Lopez, go ahead.
Thank you. Looking at section 2 of the same Article 6, and I don't know if this was added throughout the document, but it says the 60 days of adjournment sin die of business session. I don't, if there's a bunch of legalese in these documents, I don't think that is going to work in our favor overall.
What page are we looking at?
Page
It's-
23.
And it's throughout. The sin die thing is used repeatedly.
I would not recommend passing that then.
What does this word mean?
I don't know.
That's the point.
Right.
Mr. Seebeck, what does the word sindai mean?
Adjournment
Without
sindai
doubt.
is a term that is used in Roberts, which means means adjournment without day, meaning that's the final adjournment of the convention. Not to be confused with a normal adjournment, which can be to reconvene at a different time. When we end the convention, there's always a motion to adjourn sine die, to end the convention, to end the business session. In the past, we cut
Oh, it's Latin, without a date.
Yeah.
Yes. The adjournment itself, wording in the past, was meant to imply sine die. This just puts it in the correct terminology.
I don't think your average person would look at that and understand the difference. So
Are you moving to take that word out?
I am.
Throughout the documents?
Yeah.
Wait.
Hold on just a
Members
moment.
of the director, I would recognize.
That's true.
Yes, Mr. Pickerel?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The term city
One
die
second.
is used in bylaws through multiple political parties, multiple organizations. It's very common to have it in bylaws.
Okay,
This
thank
is,
you.
this is Michael, legislative.
Hold on just a second, Michael. I have Ms. Harlow's first, then you go.
Amen to what Mr. Pickerell said. But my comment was more on, the board can talk about changes that the style committee made, but can't go beyond it. Can't say, I want to take it out here and everywhere else. That goes beyond the authority of both the style committee and the board and would have to be brought up to convention. So it was,
But that was all added after the convention.
This would be a substantive, I would see this as a substantive change to the document. It was not there, maybe it was implied, but I would see this as a substantive change to the document.
Mr. Hirschman, and then Mr. Stapleton, then Mr. Hirschman. Go ahead, Michael.
I just want to reiterate that Sendai is used in all standard parliamentary procedure. It's used at the legislative level. It's used at the city council level. Anytime a session comes to closed, that is standard terminology.
Thank you, Mr. Stapleton. Mr. Hirschman.
I'd just like to say I don't think it's a substantive change because it's simply clarifying what was implied. And
Gotcha. Time, is there any further discussion? Does anybody need to add?
Just want to second what John was saying, and him and I were both on the style committee when this decision was made.
Okay. Do we need more time to discuss, or?
What was there a second?
No, I'm asking if anybody's asking for more time. There hasn't even been a motion to extend.
I misused terminology. I said I second what John was saying. I should have said I agree.
Yeah. No further discussion, or is there more discussion needed?
Do we need a motion to accept the changes?
No, we're
in the middle of that?
in the middle of
That's
the
over
discussion
discussion.
on the motion to
Okay.
accept the changes.
Okay.
The question is, do we move to vote?
I have some discussion.
Okay, so should we move to extend the time for the discussion?
Motion to extend by 5 minutes.
second.
Any opposed? Without opposition, Ms. Betty.
We received this email, not complaining, late last night. I haven't thoroughly read through it. I don't know if everyone else has, and I don't know if it's necessary to discuss it at this meeting. Can we table it for the next meeting? Is it important that it gets passed tonight?
Mr. Seebeck, would you answer the question, please?
Hang on, I'm thinking. The deadline for bylaws committee appointments.
I'll get to you
is
right
when?
next.
end of this month.
Okay.
Is it this month?
December 5th?
So that there will be appointments made to that committee prior to the next board meeting, is that correct?
At the next board meeting.
At the
is
next
when
board
they should be
meeting?
made.
The concern is this, okay? If the changes proposed by the style committee are not rolled into the documents prior to the bylaws committee starting the work, it will delay them a little bit getting things moving. We had that problem last year, and it created a whole bunch of chaos. We'd like to avoid that if possible. That being said, it doesn't affect platform, because that's not in cycle concern. If the board makes bylaws committee appointments at the next meeting and doesn't put it off any further, then this could be passed at the next meeting if desired, and we won't have a delay.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Mr. Lopez.
Typically, I was on the staff meeting last year. I was supposed to be helping out this year. When I saw this, I didn't think that there would be this many changes over the last 6 months, but typically there aren't major issues, but I tend to agree this is a lot more than what we dealt with last year, I think.
So I would tend to agree with you. I think if it's not gonna cause a delay, I think we should vote on it next meeting.
We do have a resolution on the table right now.
We have a resolution on the table. Is this a motion to amend or
I
a
mean, a
motion to
motion.
postpone?
No,
Are we going to?
can you do that during the motion?
That's
It's part of the discussion, hang on, it would be a separate, we would suspend the rules and then make a new motion to table it.
It's in order.
It's in order.
You can do that while you discuss it.
Yeah,
Okay.
motion to postpone.
Motion to
content.
postpone
do you
until
wanna-
the next meeting, is there a second?
Second.
Any opposed?
Yes,
Mr. Hirschman?
Director.
I'd like to see us move
Somebody else?
forward.
Okay, you'd like to see us move forward. Somebody else was on the call?
The membership of director opposes as well.
Opposes as well?
Mem-
Is there any discussion on postponing this for next month? Any further discussion? Yes, Mr. Balder?
John and I were both on the style committee along with other people. We looked over every change that was brought through. This looks kosher to me. I say let's adopt it, make the changes happen, and move on to more important business. Not that it's not important.
Yeah, but wording those things is.
Madam Chairman, this is the membership director. Point of order. There's a motion on the table to postpone this motion until the next meeting. We have to vote on that subsidiary motion.
I know, we're discussing it.
It's a discussion on that subsidiary motion right now, Mr. Pickerel.
Thank you.
Mr. Spalding and then Mr. Hirschman.
Yeah, I think we should go ahead, only because I did take time to read through it.
Mr. Hirschman?
I tried to push through a couple of substantive changes, but then Karen Harlow showed up and defeated all my changes, so it's pretty much just style that's been in effect.
Okay.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
So, Mr. Seebeck?
just as a point, the last section in the report does take Mr. Hirschman's substantive request and makes note of them for future reference.
Yeah.
So we didn't lose anything in that.
Right.
One other second point, if the board decides to delay this to next month, if they have any questions, they can email me or however, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
10 seconds.
Thank you. 10 seconds.
But we do have a motion on the floor.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to postpone until the next board meeting. Do we want to vote on that motion?
Of course.
Oh, we have to.
I am going to go with, are we ready to vote? Sorry,
Yep.
wording. All in favor of postponing until the next board meeting?
Aye.
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 1, 2, 3. All opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
The nays have it. Now we go back to the main motion, which was to vote on the style committee changes and approve them as they exist currently. We have discussed that motion at length as well. All in favor of approving the motion at this board meeting as it is, as it's written, the style committee changes?
Aye.
I'm gonna go by,
Just ask if there's any opposition.
is there any opposed? One opposed, it passes.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. You have to call a vote if one opposes. Consent.
She did call the vote.
She did.
I did call a vote.
No, I'm not opposed
You
to
call
the,
us consent.
I'm not opposed to the
You have to
motion,
call-
it's just a nay.
Call for
Voted
unanimous.
nay. Mr. Pickerel, the vote has all ayes, 1 nay,
I'm actually abstaining.
and 1 abstention, okay. Any other abstentions? Do we need to call a roll? I think the ayes have it.
May I have one last question?
Mr. Seebeck?
Does David have a copy of this? I'm not sure if I sent it to him or not.
You sent it to board, he's on the board email.
I don't think I got it.
That might not be
You
true.
came last night.
No, I could forward it.
Because the clean copies in there are what what are now approved and what need to go up on the website. And that does include the scrivener's error for Constitution Article 9, Section 9 that was mentioned earlier. It's in there.
I just forwarded to David, so
Just want
now
to make
he
sure it's
has it.
there so it gets up. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's all from me, thank you.
Perfection.
Thank you very much.
And
Now we go on to
bylaws, mandated committee reports.
Convention Committee report.
Yeah.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So first of all, I just want to apologize because I normally have a link to the convention committee report here, but in this most recent iteration, it's actually a link inside the fundraising committee report, or the fundraising director report, so you would have to click it twice to see it. So I'm not sure if anyone actually saw it because there wasn't a link here, so I just want to summarize. Currently, we have 10 ticket sales. Tickets went on November 1st. We have one sponsorship at the $900 level. We currently we are paid in with our deposits to the Hotel Colorado, the 10% paid. October, was done with the sign of the contract. The 25% was done on October 3rd. The third payment that is due is going to be on March 3rd, and that'll be for 50%. And then the remaining amount will be after we depart on April 5th. We're still working through our program schedule and sponsorships. We have an issue with sell ads because there's certain ads that are included with the sponsors being able to ship levels. So we're having discussions on how that's going to be done. I want to go to local businesses to generate ads for our program, but I can't sell them if they're attached to sponsorships that might get purchased. So far, on our speakers, we have Lincoln Chafee for our Saturday Gala, Scott Horton, Danny McAdams, and Gregory LaPointe. Something that I need to discuss going forward is I recently, my friend request from Lynn Albrecht, who is Ross Albrecht's mom, was recently accepted, to reach out to her to see if she would be willing to speak in one of our time slots. I don't know for which, you know, because I think Focus on Liberty, I think she might have something to say about her son and our theme.
10 seconds.
I'm done.
Thank you. New business, unfinished business, sorry. There was an unfinished business of the communications director from last board meeting. There was an application put out and a call for other people to apply. No one else has applied. I have received absolutely no interest in this position other than Ms. Petty, who has agreed to do it. Is there well, I believe that the motion was set to be voted on for this board meeting of reaffirming Ms. Petty as our communications director. Is there any discussion on the topic? Any opposed? It's unanimous. My condolences, Ms. Petty. Thank you for stepping up. We appreciate you. New business, we've already gone through this though, about the deadlines earlier at this board meeting, so.
Madam Chairman, this is Membership Director.
Yes, Mr. Pickrell?
I move that the board post applications for the 5 positions that we were required to advertise by Article 6 of the bylaws for the bylaws committee.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any opposed? Mr. Lopez?
I am not opposed. I apologize. I just want to.
Who's gonna do it?
Person who made the motion.
Hold on. I think we select the members. I don't think it's an application process. Yeah. Each charter affiliate may appoint one member to the committees Should an affiliate not appoint its committee member, the board of directors may appoint an additional at-large member at the time of the committee formation. The board shall solicit one committee member from each charter affiliate on the same schedule of implementation, section 2 above.
Is there an objection, Mr. Lopez?
Yeah, there's no need for that.
There's no need for applications. Yeah.
Madam Chairman, this is the membership director. I recognize.
Mr. Pickerel, go ahead.
I'm reading section 1 of Article 6 of the bylaws. The board shall solicit applications for members of the Constitution and Bylaws Committee, as well as the Platform Committee, and set the appointment date for these positions by announcement to all party members at least 6 months prior to the convention, at which amendments to the Platform, Constitution, and Bylaws are considered. The board shall appoint 5 at-large members at an open board meeting held at least 1 month after the final solicitation, but no later than 4 months prior to the convention. And there's more language, but I think that's the most important.
Right.
That has nothing to do with the affiliate appointment.
So the motion is, would you restate your motion,
Send
Mr.
out
Pickerel?
applications.
My motion is to comply with section 1 of Article 6 of our bylaws.
There has been a motion and it's been seconded. Is there any opposition to this motion? Any opposed? No? Without opposition, it passes. We will publish
Thank you.
this on the website, and can you take care of that, David, or do we need to?
Somebody needs to write something.
Oh, John, could you write it up?
Yes, I'd be happy to.
Thank you. So that has passed. Anything else? Move to adjourn?
I think we've got new business to take care of.
We just dealt with it right now. That we just did.
That was for committees. All right,
Yeah, that's what we just took care of right now.
and this part done.
Continuity binder, David.
I would, our bylaws require that directors maintain a continuity binder, and I would like to hear from each of the directors on the state of their continuity binder.
Mine's done.
Can do.
So
I'll
go around, call the roll, go through each director.
Vice Chair?
Won't lie, mine's mostly up here. I plan to put it on paper, hopefully before the next board meeting.
Affiliates.
Ditto.
Campaigns.
Where do I need to be putting this? In
In
the
the drive.
campaigns folder in the drive? Is that?
Eric's got a folder.
Yep, if you go to Board of Directors and you go under the Vice Chair folder,
Well, that's yours, but
Yeah.
where would he put his? Under?
Well, I think
people-
he's supposed to maintain them.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, under Vice
Yeah.
Chair, okay.
and people can drop stuff in there because David was able to drop his suggestions right in there.
Okay.
If you can't get into that folder, let me know and just email me.
What was the name of the folder?
So it's Board of Directors, Board_Vice Chair, and then Continuity Binders.
Communications, well, it's just started today. Secretary?
Yeah, mine's finished, so.
Legislative? Is Michael still there?
Yeah, he's still there.
Michael, can you hear us?
There he is.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you please repeat that?
What is the status of your continuity binder?
I'm still working on it. I'm probably about maybe a month and a half out.
Thank you. Fundraising?
It's in progress.
Membership?
I have failed miserably to do my continuity binder. Thank you, David, for holding the board accountable. I think we need more people like you to hold our feet to the fire. I'll have mine done for the next board meeting.
Treasurer?
It's a work in progress. I've got about 10 pages and there's more to be done.
Chairman, we'll have to get started on it. Anybody else that we miss? Did we miss anybody? Outreach is not on the call. Did I miss anybody on the call? No.
No, I don't think so.
So let's revisit it next month. Mr. Lopez.
As far as new business goes, I want to put something together, but it appears that the language in our bylaws, section 6 for the state committees, parts 1 and 2 seem to be contradictory. So I would just recommend that those be cleaned up a little bit.
Are you
Probably by
volunteering for the
are
committee?
you volunteering for the bylaws committee?
No, I will reword it though.
We can't clean it up until the next convention.
Well, I understand that. I don't know if we want to add that to something they should look at, or
You could send them
Can't be looked at till after 2020 convention.
informations for the 2021 convention. Mr. Harlos.
Concerning the continuity binders, guys, I recognize that this is gonna be a difficult job for those board members that are in their first term that haven't been exposed to this before. I would encourage anybody as they're putting their continuity binder together, if you're new to the board, reach out to one of your predecessors and ask them about the job requirements, description, and what type of things should be included within the continuity binder that you are now creating. We haven't had them in the past. So this is new, and for new people, this is gonna be difficult.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Harlos. Mr. Vice Chair.
Which is why I said in my initial business plan that it's gonna take a little bit of time for this, get some people familiar with their roles.
Right. Any other business? I'll call to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any opposed? We're adjourned.